Welcome, friends, to Breath of Life Conversations. We are back and we have one of my favorite people. I'm so excited. So, you guys are probably gonna wonder why I have a business guru on my channel, because what does medical intuition have to do with business? Well, let me tell you, I know nothing about business. So when I started Breath of Life, I really needed a lot of help. I still do. And one of the premier person that I was able to find, she popped up when I needed her most, was Natalia. She basically took me under her ginormous wings and helped me get to where I am today. And I can honestly say I have never, ever been more grateful and have learned so much. Natalia is, like I said, a freaking guru when it comes to businesses, particularly soul-led businesses. She has started and launched and sold 3 different businesses and has her own sorcery school where she teaches business and all of the things from marketing to sales to everything, starting offerings and stuff. But the most interesting thing, well, one of the most interesting things that I feel is really interesting about Natalia is that she does this all with an intuitive slant. So all of the work that she does with clients comes from a much higher divine place. And knowing our world as it is today, that is something that I feel like all businesses need. And so join me in welcoming Ms. Natalia. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so excited for this.
So, as I was saying in your intro, you have been doing business stuff for a long time now. Yes. And this has become your baby and teaching others how to do this. What was it? Because I know you started in marketing, and I love the story of you having to walk around papering the flyers before social media started.
Yeah.
But what was it that where you were like, that's my niche, teaching people how to do business, how to start their business, how to grow it? Well, how did that come about?
Yeah. So I didn't for a long time. I think it almost just kind of happened. And a lot of it was me trusting. And I think it's so important to share this because people will look at, someone like me and be like, she knows what she's doing, so I should know what I'm doing. But it's like that clarity really, I don't think fully came until I would say even this last year. And at this point, I've been doing this for 8-9 years now. And a lot of that path, a lot of that journey was just me trusting and allowing myself to be in the unknown and figuring things out, because I've always been very intuitive, very spiritually inclined. So there was me 8 years ago trying to do business, not knowing what to do, not really being guided on my energy and intuition, trying to figure it out, being on my own and not seeing other intuitives or energy workers or healers out there. And so I was just very much on my own trying to figure it out. And when I started my first business, even with that business, I feel like already I was kind of starting to see the signs, but didn't really put it all together. But I had women coming to me and asking, how did you start your business? I have an idea, but I don't know what to do. So it was actually women coming to me and asking me for help. And so I would give them advice and I would help them. And then one day I was like, I think there's a lot of women out there who have ideas and they just don't know how to start. They don't know what to do with it. So I remember posting on Facebook and I was just like, hey, if you're a woman, you have an idea, you need help, you want to start some sort of business or something, I'm going to host a little gathering. And when I post this, I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to show up. Maybe no one's interested. I don't know what's going to happen. And I had over 30 women show up, and some of them I'd never even met. They just happened to be following me on Facebook, had driven from over an hour away. And it made me realize there's a need for this. Like women have ideas, they just don't know what to do with them. So they kind of came to me, and I really started coaching since then, since my first business, but I didn't call myself a coach. I was running other businesses at that point, and I fell in love with doing that and helping people bring their dreams to life. And so at a certain point, I knew like, I'm going to do this full time one day, but I didn't want to step into it fully until I had experience under my belt, because to me, it was important that I can not only do it for myself, but that I can effectively teach other people. So it was almost like I put myself through training of like helping other people for free, running groups for free. Like I was doing a lot of it for free and just helping women. And it wasn't until I felt like I had seen results and really built up my confidence around it that I stepped into coaching. And that was about like I would say like 3 years ago or so that I fully stepped into it, but I had been doing it for a long time prior to that.
Did you ever feel like the exchange? I know, so most of my viewers are probably well versed in intuitive and energy work and things like that. Did you ever feel like there wasn't an equal energy exchange when you were doing all that? Like how did you like get yourself to that point? Because I know like for so many of us that are starting out our businesses, that idea of like, you have to get your name out there. And I know that's one of the reasons why you teach the way you do, because I almost feel like you're wanting us to be able to skip that step so that we, have a better exchange. But hearing that, it feels like there could have very well been a lot of time where you were like exhausted, because there you were giving. And like you were just saying, you were doing it for free. So how did you get through that time, feeling, maybe not all the time, obviously not all the time, but, feeling sometimes like, this is not where I want to be. I want to be getting paid for what I do.
Yes. I think, and thinking back to it, I think I did start charging, but it was very small, like I think my group programs at the time were maybe like $100 or something, which is totally different than what I'm charging now. So I was charging a very like small amount, but I think that I didn't have the knowledge and understanding then that I do now. I also started really young. So I think in a way I needed to learn more. And I kind of knew that because, I started my first business when I was 22 years old. And so I was really young and like didn't have a lot of experience and was kind of learning and figuring it out. So I think I did need to go through that learning process for myself. But the reason why I view it so differently now is because I have a different knowledge and different understanding of how we come into business, right? So, for example, past lives, like to me, that in itself is a huge reason why people should charge right when they start, because this isn't the first time you're doing this. Like you have done this for many lifetimes, so if I would have known that at that time and known like, this isn't, in my mind, I was like, this is the first time I'm doing this. So to me, that was the reason why I couldn't charge a certain amount. But if I knew then what I know now, which is I've been doing this for many lifetimes, I'm an old soul, like I've been a healer in past lives, like all of those things would have really shifted my perspective on what I was doing. And I had to do a lot of work around like my value, self-worth. I had to work through a lot of money, like mindset blocks that I had. When I look at someone like you, like when you come to me, I'm like instantly, yes, you need to charge what your gifts are worth, because not only have you done this for many lifetimes, but like you're experienced as a nurse, like you have the knowledge and the expertise. So just because you're new to business, that doesn't mean you're new to the work. This is work you have done for a long time and the value is there. So just, like I don't want people's maybe like lack of business knowledge to make them feel like what they have to offer isn't valuable. Because it's like, I'll give you the business knowledge, but you're the one with the gifts. You're the one with the talent. You're the one that's going to provide the transformation. And that's where the value is. So I think now it just, I look at it so differently, and I just didn't know what I didn't know at that point.
Yeah. That's such a good point of, we always seem to like undervalue ourselves, particularly as women. And I think that's why it's so fascinating that to me, like when I look at how you've kind of structured how you run things in your business and how you teach others how to like follow their intuition for their businesses. Number one, like you were saying, you have said, if you are a woman, like your business is for women to teach them. Did that come out of like solely from I'm a woman and I know how to like speak to them? Or was there something else about like whether it was like we live in a patriarchy, or like did you have some sort of like an inkling of like this shift now that we're in, like you were like, we're gonna get to a point where like this whole like masculine thing that we got going on, that's gonna go away?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I love that. Because people always ask me, why do you only work with women? And I think now we're stepping into a time where it's not even just male or female anymore. Like there's so much, and I'm definitely open to working with anybody. I think what it came down to for me was I've always been very passionate about helping people groups that tend to be more oppressed in society. So when I started, I really set the intention of wanting to work with women of color. That's something that I'm very passionate about as a woman of color. Like when I started, no one looked like me. Like I didn't see any other women of color. And I felt like I wanted to carve that path and to say like, I want more women of color sitting at the table. And because in general, women tend to be more oppressed than men, and make less money in the workplace and all of that. I just felt very passionate about fighting those things and really overcoming those like cultural and societal barriers that a lot of us have to face, and really empowering women and saying, let me put the power in your hands to decide how much money you want to make or how you want to work, or that just because you have a certain skin color, that you have to be viewed in a certain way in your work or in life. And I think for me, I'm very passionate about fighting those things. And something I think I need to talk about more and plan to talk about more is that I believe that as healers, part of our responsibility is to heal the racism and the oppression and the patriarchy and all of those things that have been created. But even in this space, I see how we're recreating a lot of what exists in the world that is not good. And for me, I'm like, it's our responsibility as healers, whether you're a person of color or you're white, to not recreate those things and to heal them by being mindful of being diverse and being inclusive and not being oppressive towards people. So that's something that I make sure I'm doing in my own business, and hope that other people will join me in doing in their businesses as well.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I find that in the world of business, it's so easy to forget to forget your why, as I like to say, right? Like, why are you doing it? Why does your business exist? And they can get tripped up in just wanting to like make money or, make it successful. Sometimes it's not even like monetary. I just kind of feel like there are a lot of people that say, I started this and I put so much into it and I just want to be successful. Like, I just don't want this to fail. And it's not enough. I feel like when that's all that's driving you, it's really easy to say, well, then whatever the means to the end is, right? Regardless of what it is, then becomes like the sole thought in your head of like, well, I need to trip over people or I need to step onto people to get to where I want to be. And it's so amazing to see and to be taught. Like, that's one of the things that I've noticed, like being a student of yours, that like it's a constant like checking in, like it's a constant like from what we are trying to figure out for our pricing to what our our offerings are, to what our name is or whatever. You're constantly like you know, you need to check in with yourself, feel into it. How does that feel? You know, just as a reminder, I think it's like your way of being able to be like, go back to why you're doing this. Because if you price it at this and you feel like trash, then
it doesn't matter.
Like, what's the point?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And it's so important to know that, like, the way I think of it is like, what's in alignment for you? You know, and I'm sure my clients probably get annoyed. I'm always like, how does that feel? And it's like, but there's a reason why I'm asking that question, you know, because if it doesn't feel good, guess what? It's not going to do well. You know, I don't care what the number is. It could be $1, it could be $1,000. Like, if it's not in alignment to you, especially as intuitives, like, our energy plays so much into our business. And if we're not in alignment energetically, we're going to have a hard time, you know? So like, I'm going to annoy people and ask them, how does that feel? You know?
Right. That's like, if we could come up with a motto for Natalia's, like, how do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, it's either that or how are you celebrating? And I feel like people are like, damn it, now I have to figure out how I'm going to sell it. And I'm like, yes, I want you to enjoy life. I'm sorry, but I'm going to make sure you love this and it feels good.
I can't even tell you, like, we're laughing about this, but like, I am one of those people that I remember the day. I remember I was working with you one-on-one at that point, and you were like, okay, so if you reach this goal, how are you gonna? I was like, I don't know. It was such a foreign concept to me to like want anything for myself outside of like just being successful, you know, like at the time that was really the thing. I understood like that I wanted to help people, I wanted to heal people, that like healing was where I was moving. I was still kind of resistant at that point to like trying to niche myself down anywhere, and mostly because I didn't understand that like healing is so large that there's like there's no real way to niche yourself. It's just, you know, pick your thing, and people end up like coming to you for whatever. But I was like, I don't know. And and what I find absolutely hilarious too is that I remember that particular like section, I didn't end up meeting my goal. And I remember thinking to myself, like, if I had just answered her question and figured out,
like I could have been celebrating.
I would have probably made my goal. And so, of course, the first thing that I did when I got, I just recently like met like one of my goals, and I immediately like ran out and like got a crap ton of pasta and like emailed Natalia
You're like, and I celebrated before you even ask. And it's so important to do that because we're always, I think, and that's part of deconstructing the very masculine way of doing business, which is always focused on the next goal, the next goal, the next thing. And you never stop to acknowledge the progress and the growth and the accomplishment. And it puts us in a cycle of nothing ever being enough. And that's what I'm trying to break people out of, is like, you're not on a rat race anymore. Because if you are, then don't build an intuitive business, stay in corporate. But if you're going to do this, get out of the rat race, enjoy life, enjoy your business while you're building it, celebrate yourself. And it's not always about just moving on to the next thing without any acknowledgement of how far you've come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if you had to, as you think about some of your clients, like obviously I don't want you to name names or anything, but like as you're thinking about the clients that you've had or people who have tried to work with you, because we're talking about how this is like a healing thing for you, right? Like you're teaching people how to heal themselves as they create businesses, and in some ways, like I kind of feel like you're like the business healer, like you heal businesses too, like, and or like you're like the midwife of like businesses, like you're helping to like birth these businesses. And I guess like the question I'm trying to figure out how to ask is like, is there people that you either work with or are trying to work with you that in some way aren't ready? And like, how does that how is that for you? I mean, we see so many and hear so many of your successes, and it's why I like champion you so hard, because I know that like it works. Like if they just listen to you, it works.
Yeah.
And do. But
Mhm.
what on the opposite side of that, like
Yeah.
how does that usually play out for you when somebody can't
Yeah.
seem to get there?
Yeah. So I think for me, like obviously my goal and intention is to save people time and money. You know, it's
Yeah.
like all those 8 years and a lot of money I spent trying to learn and figure it out. Like I'm trying to cut that time down for people and the investments down for people so that they're not having to go through like their own 10-year journey of doing this. And I think for me, I've had to find the balance between I have these tools and resources, whether it's strategy and business experience or energy healing and meditations and all of those things, and also respecting somebody's journey and their process, and finding the line between that because like I still have clients that, it's very common. It's like someone doesn't hit a goal or someone's launch wasn't, the way that they were hoping that it went. And I get it. I'm like, I've had many failed launches. I've been there. I still worry when I launch something. I'm like, is anyone going to sign up? Like, I still, it's very common because we're still human. And I think that like part of it is that journey and part of it is that process. And I really see it more as like, I'm here to guide and support you. And I'm going to help you as much as I can with anything that I can. But at the end of the day, like everyone is still on their own journey, and I believe that everything is a learning lesson and everything is still progress. So just because someone didn't hit their goal, the fact that they showed up for that to me is a huge win. And it's okay, do it again, like do it again, do it better, continue. And I think that's the hard part, is the fact that in business, we have to allow ourselves to keep doing things over and over and over again, because that's how we get better and that's how we do get results. But it's hard when we don't get the result to want to continue, and we can be really hard on ourselves. So for me, that's where like the support really comes in handy, or the coaching comes in handy, because if you're on your own, it's so easy to just walk away and to give up and to call it quits, instead of having someone saying, it's okay, keep going, like keep trying, keep pushing. I use the analogy of whenever I feel like I need to be more graceful with myself, or my clients need to be more graceful with themselves. Like if there was a little kid learning to ride their bike for the first time, you wouldn't shame them for having training wheels, or for maybe falling a couple times when they take off the training wheels, or being a little wobbly, or figuring out how to do it and going through that process. Like you would be like, of course, like they've never done this before, like they're learning how to do it. And that's the same grace that I try to extend to myself and encourage my clients to extend to themselves, of like, you're figuring this out. Of course, your first launch isn't going to be this huge success. Like you're learning how to do it, So I think we just need to be graceful and like honor our journey and our process.
Why do you think it's so hard for women to be able to like go through that process? Like I feel like when I look at like Forbes 500 or whatever it is, right? Like, we see a lot of men, even to this day, men and women, that gap in whether it be CEOs, business startups, whatever it is, like we're still really low on that like rung. We're creeping up, we're getting, there is a rise, but like, why do you think ultimately it is so hard for women to basically have an unsuccessful launch for something, or it takes whatever it is, like they didn't know, so something didn't work out so well, but ultimately what ends up happening is like they're like, well, I can't do it, so they just stop. Is that just a product of our society, or do you think it's something else in there that's making it so that we're not rising the same way?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of society, our upbringing, past lives, so it's like there's so many layers that we have to let go of and release, whether it's what we were taught in society about women, or whatever societal and cultural barriers have been placed for us, or your upbringing, and this is for me where energy work is so helpful. Because like, it could be like, I had one client, for example, a while ago, who was so afraid to launch her thing. She was going to do some sort of group like healing, and she was so scared to put it out there, and she wouldn't put it out there no matter what strategies I gave her. And so I was like looking at her energy, and I'm like, oh, it's because when you were a kid, you would have birthday parties and you would invite them and no one would show up. So now you're carrying that story and that trauma of like, if I invite, like, people don't show up, was like the belief, And so it's like, it's not just that, it's like whatever you experienced in a past life, like this is probably the first lifetime where we can do this work and not be killed for it. So like,
Truth.
right, so like
Truth.
grace for yourself, because you've experienced lifetimes being killed doing this. Like you're trying to heal whatever craziness you experienced growing up in your home. You're trying to heal what society has placed on you. So it's like there's so many layers to heal, and that's why I brought in energy work and healing into business coaching, even though it feels like to me it's so relevant and so needed. And that's why I bring it in and do both. So I think it's so much to unlayer and release and undo in order to rebuild and become like who you want to be. And I think that's all a part of that process.
If there's anything that you feel like either the world isn't ready for, or like maybe we as like a society aren't ready for when it comes to looking at like the future of business, and like thinking about how your business will have to change in terms of whatever that thing is there something that you're kind of already like contemplating because you're like, okay, this thing is going to change and so I have to change with it? Or do you feel like where you are as like an intuitive business coach, that's kind of like, there isn't really anywhere to like need to necessarily like expand? Is there some place where you're like, I'm anticipating this growth and that's how I'm going to have to maybe change?
I mean, I think what I'm seeing right now, at least in my business, is that there are so many people who are stepping into energy work and are kind of being, going through their spiritual awakenings and stepping into this work, and therefore wanting to start businesses. So there's just like a huge amount of healers and intuitives and energy workers who are stepping into this that need help and need support. And I think that there's still not enough of us to support them. Like the problem I'm having in my business right now is that there's too many people to help. And like, that's a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem where I'm like, I'm not complaining about it, but I'm also like tired because I'm holding space for so many people and I love what I do so much. And so I'm having to figure out, okay, how do I do this when there's only one of me in my business and there's all these people that need help? And that's why I'm passionate about what I do. And I'm like, we need more of you. Like, this is not like the regular world where it's competition and to get ahead, you're like, stepping on other people and you're screwing other people over. That's not this. This is come join me at the table. And that's what the way that I see my clients and anyone that I am honored to support. I'm like, come join me at the table. I'm making a seat for you. Come sit here. Like, we need you. And the more of us that are doing this, the more we can support, because it's a community and it's us supporting each other. Like, people need me and they need you and they need all these other people as well as part of their journey and their process. So I feel like we just need more people stepping up. So I don't really even see it as like people not being ready. I'm like, you're ready. Like, there's a reason why you had your spiritual awakening right now. There's a reason why you have this idea for a business right now. Like, you're ready. And so my thing is like, I literally am like pushing people, even though they're like, I'm going to launch this in 3 months. In my mind, I'm like, we're about to launch this month. And I'm just going to gently like push you off the cliff and be like, you are ready. Let's do this. So
let's do this thing.
Yes. Like, I literally just did that with a client and I was like, shoot, I hope I didn't push too hard, but I just literally pushed her off the cliff. I was like, you're launching your business now and you're ready. Like, you've got what it takes. And it's just that fear that paralyzes people. I'm like, you're needed. And my message this week very much has been like, there's people out there who need this version of you and this version of your offer and this version of your business. Because we got, as healers, we get so caught up in like, but I'm still healing, but I'm still learning, but I'm still growing, and I don't know enough. And like, we use that as a block for ourselves. I'm like, I don't care where you are on your healing journey. The people that come to you right now, they need whoever you are right now. This version of you, this version of your offer, I don't care if it changes next month or in 3 months. The person that comes in needs this version. So don't let that block you from putting it out there.
Yes. I like that idea of like I only listen to like you and one other business coach, because I feel like so far you guys are literally the only ones that are saying anything worth listening to.
I get that.
she said something very similar to that of like you have to, your train is going and you have to lay those tracks
yes,
as the train is going. And I feel like it's that same, what you just said is this exact same thing of you have to go over the cliff and understand that you're a bird and you can fly, you have wings, like go like,
yes,
because we don't have time. Do you feel a sense of like urgency, like from like an intuitive standpoint? Like, because I feel it like, I'm constantly like, oh my God, if I could, how do I do this faster? How can I learn this stuff faster?
Yeah. And it's such a hard balance of like, it's weird because like my answer says like yes and no, right? Because like yes, in the sense that the world, it's like the shift is happening, people are awakening, people need to step into this and do this. And also I know I'm working on not living in a reality where everything is so like pressured and like I got to do this now. And I know that that's like my work, because I did work in corporate for so long, and we have all existed in this world where time is money and whatever other sayings we hear. So I think that that shift has happened of we were meant to run businesses more from the feminine. But I also think that yes, and to like feeling that it's more of that, I don't want to tie it to time, but I think there's more of that urgency of like people need to step into their gifts. People need to step into their work. And I think that, and that's why I'm like pushing clients that are coming in thinking they're going to launch a couple months from now. And I'm like, oh, like, surprise, you launched your business, before they even realize it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like from like my standpoint of my business, I know that you and I have like talked about it a little bit of like, I feel the shift in the energy, like new earth is solidly here. The grid has got 3090 energy locked in. We have access to so much, and like the ability to start really playing with manifestation and like taking in all of that exists and that we have access to right now, and creating it is here. It's not nigh, it's here. It exists. We can do what we want, and like not do what we want, have what we want, like what we're dreaming of, that dream that we could write on paper. It's not actually out of our reach, but it takes healed souls to like create healthy product. So I'm kind of like, you need to do it. Like for me as like I'm a medical healer, I'm like, I need to help y'all heal your mind, body, soul, so that they can go to you and they can be the healed, as healed as they can be, so that you can help them finish off whatever is left and birth these really beautiful, healthy businesses with offerings that help. And I just feel like we can't wait. Like it's if I were to be like, Breath of Life isn't going to exist for another 3 years, then ultimately what I'm doing, and I know we both have the same spiritual mentor, Nikki Novo, and have gone through her Soul Academy programs. And one of the things that she says is like, if we slow down in terms of like saying, I'm just not like we're having to rush, but like saying, I'm on my path, but instead of taking the next step, even though it's scary, I'm going to just stand here. and just because I'm afraid or whatever, right? I'm just going to stand here. The thing that happens is if we're too afraid to move, then we're actually slowing down everyone else who needs our stuff, who are behind us. Like, I have to keep going no matter how scared I am. I obviously need to listen to my body. We need to take care of ourselves, obviously. And that's really important. But I can't stop. I can't just stand here because everybody else who's back there who needs what I have are going to end up being slowed down because of me. And if my job is to like increase the collective, right? Like help the collective ascend. Well, like I have to move.
Yes. And it's like, that's why you're here. And I always, that's how I think about the work that I do is I'm like, it's a domino effect. So I always think, okay, if I help Abigail, then Abigail is going to go out there and she's going to do the work and she's going to help people. And then those people are going to help other people. And so I really believe so much in the fact that we have the power to change the world by changing our own little world, you know. So maybe my little world is 30 clients. Me helping those 30 clients then creates a domino effect of those 30 people going and starting their businesses and doing their work. And so to you know, when we think of changing the world, it's like, it's not that I'm going to go change the whole world. I'm going to change my world. And then together it's going to spread, you know?
Yes. I love that. Tell me a little bit about Sorcery School. So for all of our listeners, yes, you can absolutely do one-on-ones with Natalia when she's got openings and stuff like that. She will let you know. We're gonna put all of the links and stuff down below. But I know that you also have a school. Like you just recently this year launched your school, your business sorcery school, and it's how many weeks?
So it's actually a 6-month program. So it's so it's a big commitment. But I've actually increased everything, like even, well, except Gram Cash, but business sorcery school one-on-one, it's all 6 months because I realized like, I actually have seen this pattern of at the 3-month mark is where people kind of want to give up. And if we stop working together at the 3 months, I feel like then it's you know, they're kind of stuck in that crossroads of like, should I keep going? Should I not keep going? Because it kind of gets a little tough at that point. And so I've kind of extended it to be like, let me help push you past that, because if you can push past that and keep going, then that's where you see the results. And some people like will stop there.
Guys, it's been 6 months since I started working with Natalia.
Yes, literally, right? Right? Hasn't it? And now what's happening? You're starting to see the results, right? So I'm finding that, okay, you know, I'm helping you so it doesn't take you 8 years like it took me. So we're cutting down the time, but it still takes some time, you know, and I'm kind of finding that the pattern is the time is around 6 months. That's like the sweet spot. Some people, it doesn't mean it's going to take that long. It's just, it's different for everyone, but that's where it really starts to happen. And I want to make sure that I can push people through that 3-month mark. But yeah, with the school, especially where my business is now, like I am seeing that there's so many people that need help. And I need to start moving people into group containers. And I think that's for multiple reasons. Like one, even in my one-on-ones, it's like I'm having the same conversations all over and over again. It's like all week long, I'm having the same conversation just with, you know, 10 different people. And so I'm like, I just need everyone to be in a group and I'll just do it once and you all hear, you know, the conversation. The other thing too, is I think that it's so important to be in community when you're building your business, because I know like for a long time, I was like, you know, either no one looks like me or no one in my family has ever done this, or I don't know any entrepreneurs in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. And with social media, like we can paint such a specific picture of what it's like to build a business, but it's a very glamorized and filtered version of it. And I think that it's so important to be in settings where you can hear other people who are also trying to figure it out, other people who also don't know what they're doing, other people who also have insecurities and fears, and to normalize that instead of being like, you know, behind a screen watching what everyone else is doing, feeling like they all know exactly what they're doing and you're the only one who's sitting there like, I don't know what I'm doing, you know. Like no one knows what everyone's trying to figure it out, you know. Like it's okay. And that's why I'm really shifting my focus into like putting people into group programs, because I want them to have more of that connection with each other. That's also where how I have met some of like my best friends, people that we've been able to like then do things and collaborate together. And I think that we're meant to go from a very like isolated, it's all about me society, into like, we're doing this together, we're supporting each other. So that's a reason why I started the school. And like all the programs I've ever been through and seen are very like either masculine business or just energy healing. And my goal was to combine both, and to say like, let me help you start to finish, start your business, launch it, grow it, book clients, build it. I'm teaching you everything that I know in this program, but I'm creating a clear path for you to follow, instead of you being like, there's a million paths. What do I do? What do I focus on? And we blend both energy and strategy. So my goal was like, I'm just going to create a program where it has everything in it.
Oh, it's so needed. It's so needed.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough. If you guys are thinking about starting a business, if you've got an idea and are wondering, is it marketable? Is it something that's needed? I highly, highly recommend you head to the link in the description, check it out, see if it's for you. And if you have any questions at all, I know Natalia loves people going into her DMs.
Yes. I'm always happy to chat.
I am trying to like, I always think of it like every time I try to answer a question, when I'm answering a question, I'm like, I'm pulling on Natalia.
Yes. I love that.
It's like a running thing in here now.
Yes.
I will work on it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with me and for taking the time out of your day to come and like give us wisdom and knowledge. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me. Honestly, it has truly been transformative. And I just know that you're gonna have to hire somebody
at some point, yeah,
to help you.
That's true. Or you can go around in circles for a while. That's what I did before I hired my first coach. And I was like, definitely not worth it.
So guys, thank you so much for joining us for today's Breath of Life Conversations. I hope that you guys will all comment, like, subscribe, and of course, check out all of the links down in the description. You'll find ways to book sessions, work with Natalia, join the sorcery school, all the things, as well as where you can follow both of us, book sessions with me, all of the goodness down below. So we will see you next time for the next Breath of Life Conversations. Bye, everybody.